Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another round of RL Global on the PC platform. Today we head to the Yas Marina circuit here in Abu Dhabi for the fourth round of this championship. A beautiful circuit built in 2007, the first round ever held in 2009. Lewis Hamilton has won 5 times here, 5.5 kilometers in length around this circuit, with 2 DRS zones for the drivers to utilize down the straightaway in the second sector, and of course 21 grueling corners for these drivers to get around here, and it's going to be a real corker of a Grand Prix. Today I'm not alone. I'm being joined by the one and only Austin, or Badgerman, as some of you might know him. I believe he is here. If you are here, Austin, how are you doing?
Yes, I am here indeed. I'm doing fantastically. Very excited for this one, and yeah, you mentioned it, 5.5 kilometers long. I just wish this track was 1 meter longer, because then it would be 5.555. Unfortunately, it's only 5.554 kilometers long, which, you know, the little OCD inside me is a bit sad about. But it certainly is an interesting track. We have a couple of overtaking opportunities there in the middle sector, mostly with the 2 long straights separated by a chicane in between. And the final sector is going to test the drivers as to how well they can follow each other, how close they can follow each other, and how well they can corner around these twisty corners there in the final sector.
Absolutely, that final sector especially, as you mentioned, is going to be very difficult. The drivers at turn 18 and 19, they have been instructed that they have to stay within the white lines. Apparently you can get away with a little bit of a track extension, which I didn't know about, but I guess the drivers have been using it in the past, but that is completely outlawed today, and they will take a penalty if they do so. We'll just quickly look at the tyres at the moment. We're using the C2, sorry, not C2, C3, C4 and C5, the softest of all the arrays in the Pirelli sort of rainbow of tyres, and the mediums, we'll use that as the middle ground. They can go 17 laps. The C4 yellow wall tyres, they can go 17 laps in this Grand Prix, about 7/10 of a lap slower than the softs, but they're 1.3 seconds quicker than the hard. I do believe that these drivers are going to be fixated on a soft to medium or a medium to soft strategy around here today, but we'll just quickly think about last week. What a race we had around Bahrain short. Here are the results up on your screen. Jake Benham took pole position with a 57.5, and Sink Bryn ended up with the fastest lap in the end. The results, though, are as follows. OMG, it's Joe, or Joe Hannon. He took the win in with a brilliant move towards the end of the Grand Prix. A full 25 points coming back for the Red Bull team. Ruben Vallejo starting 20th on the grid, coming all the way up into second position. 18 points for the AlphaTauri team. That's now 2 of their drivers who have finished on the podium so far this season. Pablo Joglar was the last driver on the podium, 15 points for him. The rest of the point scorers are as follows. 4th position for Liam Parnell, Jake Benham in 5th, Nicholas Matteo in 6th, Dario Yamulo in 7th, Julian Naumann in 8th, Antoine Desaluski in 9th, and rounding out the points is Shizu Kurzi. We only had 2 drivers that didn't finish in the points. Shizu Yari, who unfortunately picked up a very unfortunate puncture at the end of the Grand Prix after his undercut strategy. It didn't really work out in the end. He finished in 11th, and then Bryn was the last of your finishers. The DNFs are as follows. Danny Moreno, Andres Dormeyer, Louis Welch, Crucix, Ruben Pedreño, Midnight, Dylan Warren and Lefted. Then quickly we'll just take a look at the standings. With his win, Joe Hannon he's at the top of the standings on 41 points. Liam Parnell, though, he's close behind him, only 4 points back, and Nicholas Mateo is only 7 points back, so it's very hotly contested at the sharp end of the order. Pablo Joglar in 4th, then Josh Idawu, he's not here tonight, he's in 5th, joint on points with Jake Benham. Barry Burremand is in 7th on 25. He's also not here, unfortunately. Ruben Vallejo in 8th, 9th for HX4K. Then joint 10th is Antoine Desaluski and Dario Yamulo. And I'll just quickly mute the desktop audio because I can hear it. The qualifying has just begun, but we are going to quickly run off on the standings. Dylan Warren in 12th at the moment. Andreas Dormeyer in 13th on 4 points with Julian Naumann as well. Then the last of your point scorers so far this season are Shizu Yari, Felipe Sousa, then Duza and Bryn, and as well as Kurzi. The rest of the drivers you see on our screen, 20th downwards, they have not scored any points. Finally, to round off the standings part, we have Red Bull on top with 56 points, but it is so close, even closer than the driver standings at the moment. We have Red Bull on top, 56, then McLaren in second on 54, AlphaTauri on 52. So the top three separated by 4 points. Racing Point in fourth position, they're on 43 points, and then Haas just 1 point back from them in fifth. A bit of a chasm appears between fifth and sixth. Williams on 33, and then Ferrari an even longer way back in 14th. Renault only on 6 points so far this season. Then Mercedes in ninth with 3 points. With that star-studded lineup, you'd expect them to be finishing up in the points-paying positions. The final team that we have got classified is Alfa Romeo, only on a singular point. But with that being said, Austin, we're about to head into qualifying.
Indeed, and I think one thing that we might see here, hopefully the trend doesn't continue. In the first race at the Circuit of the Americas, we had 14 finishes. In the second race at Mexico, we had 13 finishes, and in Bahrain Short, you mentioned earlier, we had 12 finishes. If this continues, we're going to have 11. So let's hope that's not the case. We've seen the races become more and more races of attrition, and certainly it was last week in Bahrain. This time around, however, I don't see this track being as difficult. You have many runoff areas here. You have the barriers very, very far away. So I think we're going to see a couple more finishes this time around, and we can reverse the trend.
Absolutely. It was a lot of drivers not finishing last time out, and it was really unfortunate to see that that was the case. But a couple of drivers out on circuit at the moment. I believe the first driver that will take us through on a lap is Andreas Dormeyer. He's currently through the part where they've been outlawed. You can't go over that white line on the right-hand side. So hopefully they will be respecting that very nicely. But through the final sector, completely wiping out a marker board. That's not really smart from Andy for the sake of the rest of his qualifying session. But he'll take us through on a lap of Abu Dhabi now. Coming up towards turn number 1, the fast left-hander braking down into fourth gear at 150 kilometers per hour. Now rising up the hill for one of the fastest parts and one of my favorite parts on the circuit down towards the first sector split. We'll see what the banker is for everyone. It is a 16.7 for Andreas Dormeyer. He's looking very strong on this lap thus far. Just coming through the hairpin to begin now. One of the longest straights on the calendar. DRS will be activated just about now as he goes under the Pirelli signage and opening it up, running down this long straightaway, climaxing at around about 330 kilometers per hour, braking now down into second gear for the chicane. He's short shifting through the gears and now bring it up to yet another DRS zone as the McLaren car gets out of the way very nicely there. Keeping it tight to the left hand side is Andy though, and now through the second sector split it is a 56.4 for him there. He's looking very strong so far on this lap, but now into the toughest part of the circuit, sector 3, where all could be made or could be completely unraveled. Now through this fast flat out right hander into the sharp braking zone and now into a series of 90-degree left handers to now come towards the end of the lap, and unfortunately he has completely unraveled that lap and he's invalidated it.
Yeah, meanwhile, Liam is on a lap right now, and he was already 4/10 up on Dormeyer's time here after 2 sectors. So Liam's time is going to be very, very competitive here indeed, and it is a 1 minute 32.2 to finish off the lap. That currently puts him on provisional pole position out of one driver who has set a lap time. So pretty early doors here for all the drivers, really, as more and more start laps. We have more and more come into the pit lane. In fact, Bryn is going into the pit lane. We have an AlphaTauri coming up. That would be... Oh, that's also someone who aborted the lap. We have the other... That's Dylan Warren. That is the other Racing Point up to P2 on the mediums, a second down. So not that competitive of a lap. We have Louis Welch now coming through the final 2 corners and invalidating in the penultimate corner. So no time for him here. Now, who else do we have? Kersey is about to come to the line. This should be P2. He will not be... In fact, it is P3. Kersey very far off the pace here. Next up, a Red Bull. That is Duza. Has invalidated. We have a Ferrari coming. That is Dario Yamulo, and he goes second, 2/10 down. Now we have a Williams. That is Pablo Joglar. He comes across the line, 32.5. Exactly 3/10 down on Liam Parnell's time here. Another Renault is coming up. That would be Sync Alex O. What is that name? It's cut off for me.
I do believe his name is Sync Alex O'Grady. I've noticed him in the F1 esports scene. He is a rising star, and I do believe he's just begun on a lap. We do have some more drivers finishing up on runs at the moment. A debutant in SMM Sidemax Motorsport, Vexit at the moment, of course, one of his compatriots of Kanachinki, doing really well in PSGL, and that is a very competitive time for Vexit in his first qualifying session of RL Global. He goes into second position, just about 400ths down on current pole sitter Liam Parnell. Very respectable from the reserve driver tonight. I do believe that is kind of the first wave of laps completed, unless we do have some more drivers actually pushing on runs. I do believe Yari Fitz might be pushing on a lap at the moment, because he's now coming through the third sector at the moment in that Renault car, getting a puncture unfortunately last time out, and he's gone over the white line, but he didn't get invalidation there, so I wonder what will come of that lap. And never mind, he does get an invalidation on the exit of the final corner. That would have been a 32.7, would have only put him in fourth position out of the 6 drivers. It would have actually been 7 drivers to put in a lap, so yeah, it wouldn't have been the most representative time of Yari's pace, but certainly would have been a decent lap nonetheless. We do have his teammate for tonight about to come in for his own push lap. Alex O'Grady, the young Irishman, making his debut as well, coming through the final sector now through the series of right-handers. We'll see where he can put this Renault car. We'll go on board with the banana car as it is known. It's across the line. It's 32.5, and he's only a little bit down on Pablo Hogelar.
Yeah, pretty good lap from him there overall. I think a couple of mistakes he probably would like to take back. But we are talking about the slimmest of margins here between the drivers. And looking at the sector times, 16.6 in the first sector. Lost less than a tenth on Liam Parnell. Middle sector, that's where he lost it all. 3/10 in the middle sector on Liam Parnell. And that's ultimately the gap right there. Pretty much in the final sector. In fact, Alex O'Grady was a little bit faster than Parnell. 36.1 for him. Parnell with a 36.2. So that goes to show there is definitely still some potential here for the drivers to improve. And don't forget, we of course have track evolution, which means the track will just get faster and faster throughout the session. So 1 minute 31, definitely within reach for some of these drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. As more rubber gets laid down on the circuit, more grip can be applied to the cars, and that'll be very crucial coming into the end of the qualifying session. We're about halfway through at this point. Just got under 10 minutes to go. I was on board with Andreas Dormeyer for that the entirety of his lap, and he invalidated at a very unfortunate position. He's not been able to hook up a lap thus far. So we'll see if we can go on board with anyone else finishing up on a run. Sink Bryn, unfortunately, has invalidated on his lap time, which I do believe means that there's a lonesome Alpha Tauri car beginning his lap. That's Ruben, no, not Ruben, that's his actually teammate of Nicholas Matteo. Calvin's on a run, but I do believe the furthest driver up at the moment is Crew 6 at 56.3 through the second sector. Split is a big slide through the chicane, and that's going to put a swift end to any competitive time that he would have been putting in. He's going to still complete this lap, maybe just to set himself a delta time, but there's certainly a lot of improvements from him, and this time will not be representative of his actual pace. Coming through the final sector, the McLaren car comes. He did not finish last time out at Bahrain, and if he's getting that close to the walls, he might not finish here in Abu Dhabi. But now through the final sector into the pit lane, yeah, he just wanted to abort on that lap. It did not look clean at all. Very scruffy from the reserve driver tonight, but Louis Welch, he's not pushing on a lap. I do believe that means he's going for another one. So that leaves us with Calvin, the driver in the final sector at the moment. He's got a Ferrari car behind him. I believe that might actually be Domenico Lavecce on a push lap, but Calvin through the final sector now. He's not putting a time thus far, and he's got a lot of expectations given that AlphaTauri car has been on the podium twice this season already through the final sector. Here he comes, and it's only 7th position, which I do believe means Lavecce is going to be next.
Yeah, and just to quickly go back on Crew 6, he was 4/10 down after 2 sectors on Liam Parnell's time, and I think after that mistake into the triple chicane at the start of the final sector, I think he decided, yeah, this is not going to work. He was over half a second down at that point for sure. on Parnell's time and difficult to regain anything. It would have put him, with that mistake, probably around where Calvin is right now, P7, Dylan Warren P8, Kersey P9, that area. And he'd rather have another run quickly to make sure that he gets a better time than that.
Yeah, absolutely. So he has pulled into the pit lane. He hasn't put in a lap thus far. It seems like drivers not really too confident on their lap so far. Leveche was pushing for a second lap in a row, I believe, and he hasn't been able to improve on his time. And he's not even putting a time thus far. He's not even pushing at all with the ERS. So it's not looking too good for him at the moment. Louis Welch, though, is on a push lap, and he has finally been able to hook one up. And for goodness sake, he pulls into the pit lane when he was 1.2 seconds up on his previous lap. But that was only a 35.3. So do not count that as Louis Welch's final lap, because it is not representative of his pace whatsoever. I think I'm having to say that a lot about the drivers tonight.
Yeah, I mean, what, Dario Yamulo is a 10th up on his own time. He could challenge O'Grady right now, full P3. Maybe if he hooks up the final sector right, which so far it looks like he did, he might actually challenge Parnell for P1, and he does indeed do exactly that. Great final sector there from Yamulo. Finds a bunch of time there and goes provisional pole position.
Very strong time from Yamulo there in the Ferrari car. His teammates down in 10th position on a set of the medium tyres as well. More drivers still on push laps. One driver we haven't really focused, actually we have focused on him quite a lot, but he's not been able to put in a time. It's Andreas Dormeyer. He was, of course, he's already done 2 laps, but they were both invalid, so he's not been able to put in a time that has been put onto the scoring sheet at the moment. So he's really got the pressure riding on him as the session increases onwards and the time bank that you have gets shorter. The pressure really does ramp up and you tend to make more mistakes, so you have to be very careful on your final laps if you haven't already put in a lap time. But he did do a 56.0 through the second sector. This is looking pretty strong for Andreas Dormeyer, as I believe that the Renault car of Chizu Yari has just gone into 3rd position. He's displaced Vexit in 4th position at the moment, but Andreas Dormeyer through the final sector now in that 42 Williams car, sliding out the penultimate corner to come through now into the final breakdown off the exit and to now cross the line. It's fastest for Andreas Dormeyer, 32.0, and that 31 that is ever looming for these drivers.
Yeah, it's getting so close. Surely at some point it will drop. It will see one driver reach it. We have Alex O'Grady come through the final sector right now. 56.3 after 2 sectors. He might be able to improve. Actually, he aborts the lap and runs another one. So, oh, maybe, hold on, maybe there was a little bit of a glitch there. Oh, never mind. No, he does improve. That looked a bit weird. It looked like he was gonna take some pain. Something isn't right. Yeah, I think. Yeah, something doesn't add up. I think I'm pretty sure it was an outlap, and my screen is just playing games with me. First sector though, for O'Grady, 3 milliseconds up on his own time, so he might actually be able to improve here. Meanwhile, we have one of the McLarens, that is Krusix, about to finish his lap here. And invalidates in the penultimate corner, and that is just so unfortunate. Now he has to go around the track a minute and a half one more time, and he will make it into the pit lane with 2 minutes 40 left, which means it will be really close for him to start his final run.
Yeah, these guys, if they're on this track at the moment, if they're in the pit lane, then it's just, yeah, they've all really got to focus on what they got to do for the final lap. Krusix will be struggling to make it to the end of this session, but Nicolas Mateo on the set of the medium compound tyres at the moment, he's not been able to put in a lap thus far, as has Moreno, Bryn, Leveche, Joe. Winner of the last Grand Prix might not even be able to put in a lap time this session, but Krusix as well, the final driver not to put in a lap time. Nicolas Mateo has gone through the first X split, now onto the very long DRS straight, as the DRS opens up just about now for the Alpha Tauri driver, winner of the first Grand Prix in the USA. This could be a very strong time on the medium tyres, so he's trying to go for the top 10 position on this set. He's not going to be pushing for pole, so do not expect the world of this lap, but I think if he can out-qualify J. Cole and Dylan Warren, the 2 other drivers who put their laps in on the medium tyres, I think he'll be very pleased with that one. Now, crossing the second sector split, 56.3, that's not too bad in comparison to his rivals at the moment. Given the fact that I believe Andy was about a 56.0 or something of the sort, so this could be a very good time for Nicholas Matteo on the medium tyres. Duza has retired it out on circuit, so I'm not too sure what he's already done there. His car's still going, so he's manually retired that Red Bull car. But yeah, it's just a case of when the Nicholas Matteo can set a strong time here through the final sector. Comes the AlphaTauri car, the Spaniard, winner of the first Grand Prix, as previously mentioned. He goes across the line. He is quicker than his rivals. He's quicker than Dylan Moran and Jacob. That is going to be crucial for him. 32.7 on the medium tyres. That's a pretty damn strong lap.
Yeah, if we just exclude very quickly the almost 7/10 that the mediums are slower than the softs. I mean, you do the math. You come up exactly with the 1 minute 32.0, which is where Andy Dolmeyer is sitting right now in P1. So this was about as good a lap if you exclude the tire disadvantage for Matteo, which will turn into a tire advantage come the race. But obviously for now it is a tire disadvantage. If you exclude that, his time was just as good as Andreas Dolmeyer's in pole position.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. That is a very...
Oh, there's a Haas around. There's a Haas around. That is Bryn, I think. He's the only Haas. Yep, he's the only Haas in the lobby. So he was around on the exit of the hairpin there. He is on his outlap, so no harm, no foul, really. But that's what the yellow flag was for. I don't know how it happened, but yeah, he's definitely been around there and has recovered the car. No damage to the front wing of the car either, so he'll be able to continue. But what a moment there for Bryn.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen to him come race time. Nicholas Matteo at the moment, he's in 9th position on the medium tyres, but that position could be under threat, really, from a rival in Louis Welch. He's finally been able to put in a time, and he's on the medium tyres as well, so he could be the leader coming into the race on that set of the yellow wall tyres. Coming out the final corner, here comes the Mercedes car, yet to score in this season, and it is exactly 9th position. And if that were on a set of the softs, theoretically he would have been in P1. A 31.8, I do believe, would actually be the gap at the moment. But of course on the medium side you are going to go slower, as a big gaggle of cars I'm just noticing coming through the final sector, as J. Cole's coming into the pit lane, so that's going to be his qualifying over. But we do have some drivers on runs. I do believe one of the furthest up on his lap is Domenico Lovecce.
Yeah, and looking at his time so far, first sector 16.7, pretty much not what he was hoping for, although at the same time he's on the mediums as well, so maybe it is what he's hoping for. Middle sector 56.3. This puts him basically where Nicholas Matteo was. If he gets a better final sector, he might be able to challenge Louis Welch for a spot in the top 10 on the mediums, but we're going to have to wait and see what he can do. As meanwhile, there is a Mercedes going slow in the middle sector on the end of the first of the two long straights, letting a lot of other cars by, a lot of other people by as well, in those cars, obviously. Lovecce, it looks tidy what he's doing here, and tidy isn't always bad. So let's see, final corner here, gets a lot of curb there on the entry, a lot of curb on exit. Looks good, it's right in between the two in P10. Louis Welch still in front of him, but he beats Nicholas Matteo and pushes him outside the top 10.
There's the first time that we've seen in the 1 minute 31's Liam Parnell to the top at a 31.8. He's just crossed the line there. Very strong time from him. Dario Mulo has unfortunately invalidated on his lap, and that would have been a pole time from him. 4/10 quicker than his previous best, but invalidating it, that is not going to help his case whatsoever. We got a Renault car in the final sector. Yari Fitz is coming into the pit lane. What about Alex O'Grady? He's unfortunately invalidated on his lap as well. That would have put him quite a bit ahead of his sync teammate of Bryn, has just gone into 7th position. A Mercedes car is about to cross the line. That is Danny Moreno, but he is not really pushing too strong at the moment. 33.3. I think we all know Danny Moreno's pace. That is not going to be a time that he would have actually attempted. I think he might have actually been one of the drivers to be backing off on the laps. But I do believe that means we have come to an end of qualifying. I don't see anyone else on a lap. Pablo Hogelar is coming into the pit lane. So that is qualifying over here in Abu Dhabi. And it is Liam Parnell, the only driver to be in the 1 minute 31. And it is a very competitive time from him. Let's just see the gap. He's 2/10 clear of anyone else on circuit at the moment. And he did the 31.8. His nearest rival, Andreas Dormeyer, only managed a 32.0. Is this going to be a good omen for his race coming into this one?
It might very well be. I mean, if we look at the first 3 races, we've had 9 different drivers on the podium. No one has had a repeat podium so far. I think with Liam Parnell being the pole sitter, he has a pretty good chance. He got the podium at the season opener at the Circuit of the Americas, and he got a 3rd place there. He might actually be able to get something better this time around. He only got 4th. He was the closest one already, where he got a 4th place last week. And could have gotten that podium potentially, but didn't, as we're waiting for the lobby to move on. I think it's because of Jake Benham. Yeah, his name is Jake Parnell, but his car is still driving around. I hope that doesn't break the lobby altogether. Yes, it does.
I think this might actually be Jake going around himself. I'm not too sure what he's actually doing here.
Yeah, it seems so.
I have no clue what is going on. He's just
Jake, if you are listening, please retire.
yeah, that's an interesting one. For Jake Benham to be in this situation. I think for the first time. Yeah, I think the lobby is completely glitched. For the first time this season, we might be headed to the technical difficulty display. So everyone, I do hope you do stay tuned in for this Grand Prix, and we will head away for just a moment, and we will be back very, very soon. So just please hold on to everything. We'll get this sorted, and then the race. Never mind, we won't need to go to that because the car has just retired itself. So oh, that's brilliant. We can still get it all going today. So, yeah, we'll just quickly run through the qualifying order. Liam Parnell on pole position. Andreas Dormeyer in 2nd. Dario Yamulo in 3rd. 4th for Jari Fitz. Then Cybermax Motorsport Vexit on his debut. Very strong qualifying from him in 5th. 6th place for Pablo Hoglar. These Spanish names, they always get me, man. 7th for Sink Bryn. Sink teammates side by side on the grid. Alex O'Grady in 8th. Doozer in 9th. We didn't really see too much of him in this qualifying session. Louis Welch rounding out the top 10 on the set of the medium tyres. The rest of the grid is as follows. Crew 6, Kersey, Calvin, Lavecce, Matteo, Warren, Moreno, J. Cole, that's Jake Benham in 19th, and then Joe Hannon, last week's race winner, not even putting in a lap time.
Yeah, I mean, lost the first challenge maybe this time around. Let's see how well that goes. Not so sure around this track that it is a very viable strategy. There are, I think, other tracks where it's more possible than around here, around Abu Dhabi. But the one thing, yeah, that is very unlikely, I think we can, even though I think we have seen it in real life before, but it's very unlikely in the game, is that we're going to see any rain here. So that's not very, very usual to happen. And so the drivers are readying up. They are getting underway, and we are going to see what's going on. The tires, just to quickly get back to that, we have the massive gap between the mediums and the hards. 1.3 seconds, you showed it before at the start of the stream. So the hard tires we will not see feature in this race whatsoever. It will be softs and mediums only. And you lose in the pit lane around this track roughly 20 seconds. It can be 19 and a half, it can be 20 and a half. Depends on your pit entry, depends on your pit exit. But roughly 20 seconds for a normal pit stop. Again, if you get a different pit stop, if you have to go for a front wing change, if you serve a 5-second penalty, that's usually going to increase by about 5.5 seconds per one of these so-called extras, as I would like to call them, extras. So if you serve a 5-second penalty, that increases it really by 5.5 seconds, because your pit crew is going to be cautious to make sure they are not working on it too early. And likewise, if you do get a front wing change, that usually costs you about 5.5 to maybe even 6 seconds extra as well. So you can add that to that time. And we see really not much of a surprise here, I think. Well, we do see one surprise. Alex O'Grady down in 19th. He got shuffled down.
Yeah, I just picked up on that one there. I'm not too sure what has happened to the Irishman, but it seems like he is going to come to a bit of a screeching halt in this race unless he can pull what Ruben Vallejo did in the last race, coming from 18th to 2nd. It's unlikely that we'll see it again, especially around Abu Dhabi, where it's not going to be as hectic as that race at the Bahrain short circuit. But possibly he could have a bit of a last to question mark. I do say last. He has got Jake Benham alongside him on the grid at the moment. They are bringing up the rear, but yeah, as expected, the top 8 who qualified on that tyres actually Louis Welch starting on the tyre that he qualified on as well, crucially on the medium compound of tyres. So he is going to be the leader of the alternate strategy. It's going to be very interesting to see where he comes out in this race. But now they're pulling through the final sector now. Liam Parnell is currently the spearhead at the moment, but Jake Benham's a long way back from him. So that means that these drivers who are right at the front of the order, their tyres are going to be a lot colder than those around them because they've been waiting on the grid. But soon we will get underway.
Yeah, Alex O'Grady has one advantage over Ruben Vallejo last week. It's that he gets to start on the medium tires. He doesn't have to start on the tire he qualified on. He actually gets to pick his tire. He so decided to go onto the medium. So one advantage, which might actually see him into first, but difficult to replicate. And also, mediums plus soft together last 29 laps. If you've qualified on them, it'll be difficult.
Yep, so the lights are coming on here. 5 red lights here in Abu Dhabi, and they are out, and we are underway. Who has got the better start? It looks like Liam Parnell has had the best start out of them all, but here comes Dario Yamulo coming around the outside of the Williams car of Andreas Dormeyer. They're wheel to wheel coming up through now up the hill as a bit of a bollard going a bit wayward there as Andreas Dormeyer just pulling out ahead of his rival. I think that it might be Jari Fitz trying to make a move as well. Coming into the second sector split, you can see a lot of these drivers already getting penalties for Pablo Hogalar, and a virtual safety car brings the race to a screeching halt here.
Yeah, I've seen some damage there, and I think that is Jake Benham in dead last right now, who has suffered some damage there to his front wing. And Louis Welch may have been involved in some kind of scuffle here as well. He's lost 8 places. One thing to note here for the drivers, let's see if he has damage. It's hard to spot, really, but right side of his front wing seems good, left side seems good as well, so maybe invisible damage, but clearly no optical damage to the front wing and to the car. But he got shuffled down the order very, very much so. And it is Calvin in P8 on the mediums, currently the spearhead of those alternate strategy drivers now.
Absolutely, so we are going to get underway very soon. We just got to wait for the VSC to be brought back in. When that will be, we do not know. We've been under the VSC for quite some time already in this race, and there it is. The green flags are back, and we are underway here. And already Nicolas Matteo trying to make an opportunistic move on Shazoo Kersey coming off the exit here. Seems like he has just about got ahead of the Alfa Romeo car, and he might actually be challenging with Duza at the moment. Around the outside, Duza getting a big slide on. They're all a bit of a Constantino effect coming back into each other. Duza almost into the barriers there, and he's gone straight on, and that is him. Luckily not getting any wing damage. Bryn coming in, as is Jake Benham, completing lap number 1 now. It seems like they're all scuffling right down the order. There's a lot of timing glitches going on at the moment, so we do apologise for that one there. But it is Liam Parnell leading this Grand Prix at the moment from Andreas Dormeyer, fighting with Dario Yamulo early on. He did manage to hold off the Italian, so he was able to keep that second position. All in all, it seems like a pretty clean start to this race so far.
Yeah, it seems the only issue we've seen here really is both of the Haas drivers coming into the pit lane at the same time, and Jake Benham being held up here in the pits. He is about to exit. He has, well, he's still about to exit the pit lane. Remember, the pit lane exit, quite a tricky one. You have to go under the track and then rejoin on the outside of turn 3. That is the procedure here. Very tricky, as Liam Parnell is pulling a nice gap here on the rest of the field in lap 2, and he's using a lot of his ERS to do so. He is down to about 40%. Dormeyer as well, trying to hold the 1 second barrier here and trying to stay inside that 1 second window to at least get some DRS. Yamulo, meanwhile, he's sitting comfortably at 80%. ERS battery charge. So he's got quite a lot to play with here and has an opportunity to potentially either put Dormeyer or even Liam Parnell under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, well, as all the deltas fix themselves, we begin lap number 3, and already Andreas Dormeyer has lost out on the DRS to Liam Parnell in front of him, so this could be crucial and detrimental for his race if he can't get close enough to utilise the DRS, because he will have a whole gaggle of cars right behind him. Yamulo, Fit and Vexit will all be catching him at a rate of knots, using up the DRS to the full extent. Coming off the exit of the corner, it seems like Dario has got a tremendous run on the Williams car, and he might try and go for it this time by. If he doesn't, it's really making his intentions clear that he doesn't want to overtake. Has been moved further back down the order. Nicholas Matteo overtaking his teammate for tonight in Calvin. Not quite getting the move this time by for the Ferrari car of Dario Yamulo, but maybe on the exit if he wants to try and go for the move on Andreas Dormeyer. If these guys are squabbling, then they'll lose out time to Liam Parnell, but here he comes to the outside line. The Ferrari car goes, and he's made that move before the corner even comes. Andreas Dormeyer did not want to fight that whatsoever. Those two doing damage limitation to their races, going to try and keep up with Liam Parnell, who's now stretched the gap to about 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, I think for Dormeyer, the consideration here is if I start battling with Yamulo, then Parnell is just going to drive off into the distance, and the target for any racing driver is you want to win the race. If you let off first place, if you let him drive off into the sunset, well, then he's going to do exactly that, and you can fight over the scraps at best, which here would have been a second place. So he says, hey, maybe that Dario Yamulo guy, he is quite quick. Maybe he can pull me closer to Liam Parnell. But now Dormeyer has to watch out. He might actually lose out on the DRS range of Yamulo. He's really on the verge, they're on the cusp of losing out, and Yamulo is so close to getting into it. He needs to get a good run here through this chicane. He does. Is that enough? It's not. 1.059. So he just misses out on the DRS. And Vexit, meanwhile, goes for the outside overtake on Jari Fitz here. What a fantastic move through the hairpin. Yeah, an aggressive move for the McLaren car today, and he's managed to get past Jari Fitz. We've seen a couple of drivers pulling into the pit lane already. Pablo Hogelar and J. Cole have both pulled into the pit lane. I wonder if that was for any damage that they might have had in this race. Nicholas Matteo has managed to get ahead of Calvin, and now he is leading the Alt-Strat runners train from down in 7th position all the way to 14th. So 8 cars in this train at the moment. I don't think they'll be trying to fight too hard in this one, just to save their tyres for as long as possible. As actually, as in saying that, Louis Welch goes for the move on Alex O'Grady, moving himself up into 13th position. He started in 9th after Alex was shafted right down to the back of the order, but he is making the most of his tyres, trying to go for the aggressive moves in this race, and he has managed to get ahead of him there. But we do see some big heavy hitters in this Alt-Strat runners train, a bit further down than they would have liked to, most certainly. But Dominico Lavecce and Danny Moreno, those two are the ones that I'm looking at, especially Joe Hannon, as we've got some drivers into the pit lane already on lap number 5. Yeah, and one of them is Dario Yamulo. He was second on the track before he pulled into the pit lane, and Jari Fitz as well. He was, I think, 4th. So 2 drivers that were very high up.
Andy,
it seems
Andreas Dormeyer has made a spin. I believe that's at turn number 3. I've just seen that on the minimap. I didn't catch him spinning there, but he's lost 8 seconds on that one and a handful of positions. Those tyres will not be feeling good, and it's also actually brought out a bit of a chasm between the Alt-Strat runners, and I think Louis Welch is not going to be happy about that one. He'll try and dispatch of the Williams car as soon as possible, but he does have DRS down the straightaway, does Andreas Dormeyer, so he might try and fight this one. But Louis Welch going to go for the move in towards turn number 8. Has he got the braking down the inside? Andy fighting that one hard, and I think there was a little bit of contact between the pair of them. Now trying to get him on the exit. Alex O'Grady also trying to stick his nose in here. Andreas Dormeyer does not want to give this one up easily. Where's Louis Welch going to go? He's going to have to go to the outside line. What about Alex O'Grady catching down the straightaway? He could go for the move up the inside of Andreas Dormeyer into the turn 11 braking zone. Has he made that move stick? You can see they're still wheel to wheel through the series of chicanes, and he's had to cut the corner there. Where's Andreas Dormeyer? He's gone off the circuit, and it was a bit touch and go between the pair of them, but Alex O'Grady has managed to get ahead of Andy here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Dormeyer is not happy with that one, but neither is O'Grady. They both made contact there. And likewise between Louis Welch and Andy Dormeyer in the first chicane there. between the two DRS zones. There was a bit of sort of a push to pass kind of model, not push in the sense of you push a button, push in the sense of, well, you push the other car a little bit. Slight nudge from Welch on Dormeyer, and Dormeyer now pulls into the pit lane. He's had enough of these tires. He's had enough of the race, actually. He retires in the pit lane. Not too happy right now, especially after that spin. And that's a spin that can happen in turn 3. It is an over-the-crest right-hander. Flat out, but difficult because the car just slightly lifts off the ground. Now, the tires not so much, but there's a little bit more air under the car than usual. And that can easily lead to a bit more wheel spin and ultimately a spin, as we saw there from Andreas Dormeyer. First retirement of the race.
Yep, so that is 2 DNFs in a row for the Williams car, but moves still being made on circuit. Both these drivers pitting at the moment as Vexit makes it light work of Jari Fitz there. And actually more moves further up the order for the Alt-Strat runners. Danny Moreno manages to get past Krusix, but actually Kersey just up in front has also managed to get ahead of Calvin. These two still fighting wheel to wheel into the third sector. It's going to be very close if they can actually go side by side through here. Kersey's going to hold his nerve up the inside line. Calvin still trying to hold it around the outside. They're still wheel to wheel here in towards turn 18 and 19. I think Calvin is just about held on to that position there, but Danny Moreno also looking very close onto the back of the Alfa Romeo car. He's going to dart to the outside line. He almost tried to go for the move, but he's so very close. Calvin running wide, getting a 3-second time penalty. Beginning now for these drivers. Lap number 7 on the exit off the final corner. The start-finish straight. No DRS in operation for these guys. Not quite close enough to go for the move. What about up the hill for Danny Moreno? He's closer than ever on Kersey. He's not even using up any of his overtake. He could maybe try and go for the send into the chicane. What about into the braking zone? He's going to hang back for the time being, but it's getting very, very close between the Alt-Strat runners.
Yeah, certainly, and we have a massive gaggle of cars here, all the way from 3rd to 8th right now. And once Liam Parnell goes into the pit lane, which he might actually go for the 1 stop here, I wouldn't be surprised. He's the only one of the soft runners still out on track, whereas everyone else has pitted for medium, so I think they will go for a 2 stop here. Soft, medium, medium. Once again, I said it before, the medium tire only 7/10 of a second slower. It's not that much, and over the whole lifespan of the tire, I think they are going to be the race tire to be on, whereas the softs, well, they struggle a bit with temperature around this track. Not so much. It's not completely unmanageable like it is, for example, I would say personally, around the Second of the Americas, our opening race of the season. But it still is quite tricky to manage, and you have to be really careful. You can't battle much, and Krusix is looking for a move on Kersey as Moreno is up to 4th place and now putting a load of pressure on Calvin in front.
Yeah, Moreno in towards turn number 8. He was able to get past Kersey, not quite being able to replicate it in towards turn 11 on Calvin, but now Calvin without the DRS, it should be light work for Danny Moreno once they get onto that straightaway here. But now coming in towards the first sector, it's going to be probably the most difficult place to overtake, as the first of the medium runners to come into the pit. Domenico Lovecce in for a stop. We'll see what tyres that Alfa Romeo car goes on to in just a moment here, as it is another set of the mediums, so he's opting for the 2-stop strategy, which is, I'd say it is viable around here, but yeah, he's going very aggressive on this set. Double medium, which guarantees he has to go for another stop. Of course, mandatory 2 tyre compounds must be used. Here comes Danny Moreno, going to be able to dispatch of Calvin very easily in this one, but Calvin is fighting it pretty hard. What about Moreno coming over the crest and now riding down towards turn number 8? Easy move for Moreno. He's now into 3rd position, but he's got a long, long way to go for Nicolas Matteo, who's really in one of the best positions in this Grand Prix. He's 3.3 seconds ahead.
Yeah, on the alternate strategy, the better strategy, I would say. And so far up the order right now, I think Liam Parnell, however, might be on an even better strategy, because remember, all these drivers have to go for 2 stops. Well, not all of them. I think the ones that have pitted already have to go for 2 stops, but the top 9 might go for 1 stop. But think about Liam Parnell right now. He's got 4 seconds of a gap, and he's probably only going to go for 1 stop overall. In fact, he stays out once more. Matteo stays out. Moreno is going to stay out. Is anyone going to come in? No. It doesn't seem like it right now.
I'm gonna need you to just pop me an invite because my game has decided to crash on me.
All right.
I'm loading up the game, but
there's the invite.
Thank you.
All right. Meanwhile, I'll do a bit of radio commentary as Liam Parnell. Tell me when you're back in, by the way. As Liam Parnell still leads the way, 3.1 seconds ahead of Matteo. Matteo significantly faster here on this medium compound tire. Now the tides have shifted how the tables have turned. There we go. As Matteo is closing in significantly on Liam Parnell in the lead. 3 seconds the gap. Moreno 3.4 behind. He's closing in on Matteo and Parnell at the same time. Matteo has gotten a 3-second time penalty. I think I may have commentators cursed him. That happened in the middle sector, in the chicane between the two DRS zones. That is turns 8 and 9, where he's picked that up. Dylan Warren, meanwhile, has retired, and that is, where is that? We have a virtual safety car, so that is, I don't even know where he retired. Is that in the pit lane? His car has disappeared.
Yeah, I'm back in the session now. I don't see his car on the minimap. And yeah, that's an interesting one. But we do have a second VSC of this Grand Prix. I do apologise that the deltas are just a little bit ruined at the moment. They should be fixed. But now, oh my goodness me, Liam Parnell, he's going to take advantage of this one, changing his strategy up, and he's going to pull into the pit lane to take off that set of the soft compound tyres. Nicholas Matteo now leads the Grand Prix, but Liam Parnell, he's going to be at such a huge advantage now, just because he has been able to take advantage of this here. And
Matteo with a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. Oh, this is so bad, and he's not the only one. Vexit in P9 right now, he's also got one. So they're both going to have to serve this within the next 3 laps. So they have to come into the pit lane to serve a drive-through penalty by lap 12 at the very latest. And that is just incredibly painful. Both Matteo and Vexit are going to lose around 15 seconds from it, maybe 16 seconds from it. So we can just quickly do a little calculation here and see that Matteo will drop down behind Liam Parnell just off of that drive-through penalty alone, and Vexit will drop possibly behind Domenico Lavecce even, who's currently in 14th. So massive disadvantage for both of these drivers, as we have Duza now retiring in the pit lane as well. Jake Parnell, meanwhile, is stuck in the pit lane. Well, that was interesting. Not sure if he is on his screen, but he certainly was on my screen here. Goes for another set of softs. Is Jake Parnell even still in the session, or is this car controlled by the AI somehow? I'm not sure. Will Matteo now serve the drive-through penalty immediately? Yes, he will.
Yeah, unfortunate for Matteo there to pick up that penalty. That leaves Danny Moreno in the lead of this Grand Prix here on the alternate strategy. And Matteo, he doesn't even want to serve it. He comes in and retires that car. That makes it 5 retirements in this Grand Prix, because Jake Parnell, he's losing 5 seconds on a set of the softs. I don't think that is him in this session, so we'll count him as the DNF. I think that is his AI car controlling him there, but now that makes it more casualties in this race. Pablo Hoglar overtaking Vexit, and that's because Vexit's pulled into the pit lane to serve his drive-through penalty as well. So really unfortunate the circumstances that these guys have suffered through to be in this situation with the drive-through penalties, but it is their own mistake really. Unless there was a glitch with the Delta, there's really just nothing they can do about it, so they've got to live with it, unfortunately, because once it's served you can't get it removed. That is just kind of a general law of league racing, and I think in F1 as well. But back to the action, doesn't seem like anyone really wants to go for a move at the moment, but Crew 6 is closing up to the back of Kersey. Kersey's been dropped completely by Danny Moreno, who's made it 3 seconds the gap to him now. So even if he got a penalty, he'd still be ahead of Kersey come the end of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, and the rules that we have in place for penalty serving in the game are exactly the same as we have in real F1. So A drive-through penalty has to be served within 3 laps. So if you do get a drive-through penalty, even if it's unjustified because of a potential timing glitch or whatever, it still doesn't matter. You're still gonna have to serve it. It is just very unfortunate the league organizers, the stewards, can't remove it. With 5-second penalties, you have to serve it if you do come in. If you do have another pit stop. If you don't have another pit stop, it will just be added, and then it can be removed. Obviously, if you serve it, you can't just get 5 seconds added to your time, as that would distort the race result a little bit. But if you do get a post-race penalty, you can get that removed by the Racing Liga stewards. And with 3-second time penalties, those aren't actually those are the only penalties that are actually not in real life really applicable. They don't exist really, but they had to punish corner cutting somehow, and they came up with a system at Codemasters, and I think it works. And those penalties obviously can also be removed, as they're not even served, so they're automatic post-race penalties. And if you feel like you've been unfairly done by one of those penalties, you haven't even left the track, or you got 2 warnings for the same leaving of the track, which has happened before, 2 warnings for the same incident, then you can get one of those removed, and you can get ultimately 1 or more of those penalties removed and get 3, 6, 9 seconds. I've never seen 9 seconds be reinstated, but it can certainly happen, as this whole group here is still very, very close together between Kersey in 2nd and Alex O'Grady in 7th. They're all really, really close. Yamulo, remember, he's had a pit stop already, and he's already caught up to this group. And he's picking his way through. He's got O'Grady already. Next one in front is Louis Welch.
Yeah, he's right up behind these guys. He's already got past Alex O'Grady. We did catch that one, and I think it was in towards turn number 8 that he got that move all well and done. Now he's onto the back of Louis Welch. The difference in tyres is not too much, but it is certainly enough to help him at this point in the Grand Prix. He'll be going on to a set of softs at the end of the Grand Prix. So these guys are on a one-stop strategy. Then they are in prime position to be fighting for the win at the end of the race. So you do have to watch out for these alt strat runners at the moment. Yamulo trying to close up to the back of this Mercedes car in front of him at the moment. Liam Parnell's also found himself in and amongst the train as well. Bryn retiring in the pit lane from 15th position, but Yamulo making the move stick down the straightaway, the very long straight that they have to crawl across. As Louis Welch, he has a half look at the back of him, but he doesn't go for a move, and he is now relegated down into 6th position. One of the only drivers without a penalty in this Grand Prix. Where's Liam Parnell in all of this? Liam Parnell is trying to fight, but Alex O'Grady also trying to fight with Louis Welch. Can he go to the outside line? Louis Welch defends to the inside. Goes Alex O'Grady. Now side by side through the braking zone. They're still banging wheels. Alex O'Grady having to cut the chicane entirely there. Louis Welch caught on the outside line. That's allowed for the Renault car to sneak up the inside, but now holding him around the outside. Here comes Louis Welch around the left-hand side and into the braking zone. They're still wheel to wheel through here in towards turn number 18. Louis Welch to the inside line for the next 2 corners. Alex O'Grady wise to back out here. Louis Welch maintaining that position. Liam Parnell just being held up by all of this taking place, which is going to be helping Dario Yamulo. Absolutely a treat in this one. Speaking of Yamulo, he's going to try and go for the move on Johanan in towards turn number 1. Not quite close enough this time by, but what a battle we have just seen between Louis Welch and Alex O'Grady there.
Yeah, and Alex O'Grady had to go off the track at least twice. He got 1 warning for it, and that's exactly what I mentioned earlier about the penalties. You may very well get a warning removed in such a situation when you're battling with another car. That car doesn't leave you the space. You have to leave the track. Game gives you a warning. Stewards look at it, go, he had nowhere to go, and remove the warning again, and that might save Alex O'Grady a potential penalty, maybe later on in the race. Maybe if it happened earlier as well, he might get 1 or 2 penalties removed, considering how often he is in battles against his teammate now. Jari Fitz going for the move into turn 8, makes it stick very, very quickly, very, very easily. Liam Parnell, meanwhile, is sizing up Louis Welch for a move. A little bit far away for now, but it can certainly happen. Moreno, meanwhile, let's talk about that for a second here. Danny Moreno, 6 seconds now, the gap to Kersey. Moreno once again showing that he is just in a world of his own, in a different class. He is lapping, let me just quickly check the race director. He is lapping at high 137s. Kersey is lapping at high 138. It's 1 second a lap, the difference between Moreno and Kersey.
Yep, well, that just comes to show the difference, really, between a pretty decent league racer. By no stretch of the mile, is Kersey slow, but it just really is the different level that the esports drivers like Danny Moreno is on. So really just full credit to the Spaniard. He vowed before the race that he would get points, and if he ends up winning this one, well, he'd be doing himself one better in that regard, as two battles seemingly sizing up on circuit. I believe the closest one is Liam Parnell to the outside line of Louis Welch coming into the chicane. He's made that one pretty easy on himself there, but what about Yamulo going up the inside into the turn 7 hairpin, and he's made that one stick. It seems Krusek still fighting it back, and I actually think Krusek has managed to get a better exit, but now coming down the straightaway, here comes the Italian car down in the scarlet red, the prancing horse, the Ferrari, charging down the straightaway into the braking zone. Is he almost going to go into the back of Kersey? He's managed to get the car stopped in time, but he's gone up the inside of Krusek. With the difference in the grip of the tyres, is just not easy at all, and I think he might get 2 for 1, a buy one get one free. Here comes Dario Yamulo to the outside of Kersey, and that is 2 braking zones and 2 positions made. Brilliant stuff from him there to move up into second position. Now the hunt begins. 7.5 seconds is the gap between himself and Moreno, but he does have 6 seconds of penalties to contend with.
He does have that indeed, but he also has 5 laps fresher tires, so he might at least get close. On track, he might get the position. It's very unlikely, though, that he will get that position ultimately after penalties. And Moreno still seems very, very far away here in general, as Yamulo actually goes into the pit lane. That's a bit early, I think, but at the same time, I mean, why not risk something to potentially get some good rewards out of it? And Yamulo and Yari Fitz as well, they both go into the pit lane same lap as they did previously. They both go on to another set of mediums. Remember, they started on the soft, went on to mediums, now they're on mediums again. For the next 2 laps, maybe 3, but at the very least 2 laps, they will certainly be significantly quicker than Danny Moreno. And for Yamulo, that means he might have himself an opportunity here to potentially catch Moreno on the undercut. But Moreno will switch onto soft tires. Possibly, maybe, I mean, the pit window is open right now. Lap 16 is the earliest you can go, I think, for soft tires, but I think Moreno might want to leave it a lap later just to make sure that the soft tires really make it to the end.
Yeah, you do want to leave yourself that little bit of headroom just in case anything does transpire. That one, Liam Parnell now moving up ahead of Kersey into second position on track. He was the pole man into this race, and now he's 8.8 seconds back from Danny Moreno, but he has got much fresher tyres. I actually think Liam Parnell is going to be able to go to the end in this one, because he's only been on this set 4-5 laps, and well, another 10 that can make it, considering that they are on...
Easily, that can easily make it. Sorry for the interruption, but that can easily make it. Yeah, Liam Parnell is on a 1-stop. He does not have to pit anymore. Moreno stayed out, so I think he will go lap 17. But right now, the net leader of the race is Liam Parnell. And let's look quickly behind. There is Louis Welch and Joe Hannon and Alex O'Grady all coming into the pit lane. It's getting really close. They're really bunched up on pit entry, and they're all into their respective pit stalls. And Louis Welch already back out. Love these 2.5 second pit stops here from all the drivers, and no shuffling around. Hold on. Joe Hannon has been held a little bit. I think he may have had some front wing changes here, so Joe Hannon significantly losing time, but he's got the damage repaired now, and that should see him with a little bit of better form to the end of the races. Look at this, Parnell is gaining on Moreno here. Moreno's lapping now. Last lap was a 38.5. That is unusual. Parnell 37.1. We're talking 1.4 seconds that Parnell took out of Moreno. Moreno's massively sliding as well at the start of the final sector. So really, really struggling. I think for Moreno, it is time now to get into the pit lane, get onto these softs, and try to make the most of them, because Parnell is lapping significantly quicker than the Spaniard in the lead right now.
Yeah, so I'd expect Danny Moreno to be coming to the pit lane. He was about 0.8 of a second slower than he was on his previous best lap, and indeed he does come into the pit lane. That would unleash Liam Parnell with a pretty healthy gap to the cars behind him. That will unleash him into the lead of the race. And where's he?
Where's he pits? Cruising's pits, sorry. Both also coming in, so that will leave him with a massive gap, actually, of about 7.5, 8 seconds to Calvin, who is now going to be second, and who should be easy pickings, though, for Danny Moreno. 7 laps the difference there in tyre.
Yeah, Danny Moreno just coming out the pit lane here, and I think he'll come out in P4. He might have a little bit of competition from Yamula behind. Nope, not at all. Let's just have a look at the interval between himself and Liam Parnell. 13 seconds is the gap between the pair of them at the moment. Liam on 7 laps, medium tyres. Danny Moreno completely fresh, not even scrubbed at all. Look at how shiny that set of tyres is. They are a completely fresh set, and he's already making up time. He's 12.9 seconds behind, and he'll have DRS from Noveche very, very soon. Separate DRS detection zone, so if he is within 1 second, which he is quite a ways back from, if he is within 1 second, he can utilise that down the straightaway and then have a huge advantage with just that little bit of extra top speed. He's not close enough this time by, but he already pulled up about 3/10 through that chicane entirely on Leveche. So it's going to be very crucial for him to make the most of this tyre while he can before it goes off. It will not last forever. It will certainly make it towards the end of the Grand Prix, but it's going to be very touch and go on his pace at the end of the race. So he's just got to maximise them as much as possible as they go right now. Calvin, he's in second position at the moment. I'd expect him to have to pit again because 7 laps already on a set of soft tyres. I don't think they'll make it to the end of the race, and he might be wise to come into the pit soon just to limit his damage. But meanwhile, up ahead, further back behind, Leveche pulls into the pit lane once again. So that leaves Danny Moreno in third position, a net P2 at the moment, but I do believe he'll be catching up to Calvin very, very quickly.
Yeah, Moreno got really lucky there that Leveche pulled into the pit lane right in front of him because he was about to catch up, and I was going to say that for Moreno, this is about as bad of a situation as it can be. You come out of the pit lane, you have these massively quicker tyres, and you get held up in the final sector behind another car on much slower tyres, and you just can't overtake. You have so much more pace, but you can't get past. Well, thankfully for him, Leveche went into the pit lane, and so he has been released, and he is getting close now to Calvin. He is within a second. He wasn't at the detection point before that happened. Now he is, and look at how much later he can brake. Look at this. This is truly, truly remarkable, and he can size them up. The gap was 0.8 of a second when he started braking. Now he's passed 1 corner later, 2 corners later.
Unbelievable stuff from Danny Moreno, making it up into second position. This is already a day that he's going to be proud of, but it is a day at the shooting range really for him. It's been such a good performance so far. Alex O'Grady making it past Pablo Hoglar for those lower end positions. Everyone from third position all the way down into 12th have actually picked up a 3-second at least time penalty. We'll just see who is the most. Gary Fitz, 12 seconds for the Renault team. He's going to be dropping way down the order come the end of the Grand Prix here. Liam Parnell, he's now only 9.5 seconds ahead of Danny Moreno. If either of these guys get a penalty, it could change the entire complexion of the race. Look at that for a fastest lap, a 34.5 for Danny Moreno. Unbelievable stuff. That's probably quicker than either of us can do in qualifying around this circuit. So it just goes to show how quick this driver is. This man, the machine, Danny Moreno, 8.7 seconds. And I cannot wait to see if he can catch up to the back of Liam Parnell come the end of the Grand Prix. Got about 9.5 laps left to go in this race. 8.5 seconds is the gap. Yamulo gets past Calvin, and this is where everything really begins to heat up.
Just to put this into perspective, on the last lap, Danny Moreno was 2.5 seconds quicker than Liam Parnell.
Wow.
If he keeps up that pace, which he will not be able to, it will come down a little bit over time. By the end of the race, they are going to be very, very close to each other. But Moreno will certainly be able to catch Liam Parnell here throughout this race. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. Really, what a remarkable lap, but you're absolutely right. I certainly wouldn't be able to do that in qualifying. I don't know about you, maybe you've got a little bit more talent in you than I do, but I certainly would not be capable of such a lap time, even in qualifying it in time trial, let alone in a race pace with still about 9 laps of fuel left in the car.
Yep, I've already mentioned it earlier on the stream, but this is just the level that esports drivers have. Now about 6.5 seconds is the gap between Danny Moreno and Liam Parnell. Another 1 minute 34 second lap time for him there. Calvin does pull into the pit lane. Liam Parnell's tyres, they are getting on in age, and they will start to feel a little bit past their best. Pretty well spent, I would say. 6.5 is the gap between Moreno and Liam, so we'll just have, it's really just a waiting game as Dylan Warren leaves the session. I didn't know he was still here, but yeah, he was DNF'd a long time ago. He brought out a virtual safety car, which we didn't even see happen. So yeah, no safety car in this Grand Prix, only the virtual ones. Hopefully we don't see the full course safety car. I think it's more entertaining to watch Danny Moreno really use the most of these soft tyres to catch up to Liam Parnell. But as the late great Murray Walker would say, it is one thing to catch a car and there's a whole other thing to overtake. So he is not in the clear at this moment in time. Danny Moreno's still got a lot of work to do here. They're going to begin lap 22 very, very soon. About 5.5 seconds is the gap between himself and Liam. It is still going to be raging on in this race.
Yeah, this has shades of Hungary 2019. This has shades of Spain 2 days ago. You have a driver who is now on a very different strategy, Danny Moreno, in a Mercedes nonetheless. So I think that adds up as well. The only difference here being obviously Liam Parnell not in a Red Bull. He's very much in a racing point. Starts with R as well, so I think it's close enough. But what a lap time. And you see the time is dropping off. Moreno on his last lap, 35.5. So he's been 7/10 slower than on his fastest lap. So Moreno, the advantage is slowly falling away. And he only... it's one way. Wow, only 2 seconds gained on the previous lap. It's still massive. That's still a huge amount of advantage there that Moreno has, and I think it's likely he will catch up. But by the time he catches up, will the advantage be enough to make it past? I'm not so sure. I think this can really go either way. This looks like right now, oh yeah, Moreno is easily going to get this done. 2 seconds a lap. Yeah, no way he's not going to get that done. Yeah, but those soft tires don't last very long. They last 12 laps in total, but they lose time quickly. Whereas the mediums, they last 17, but they're more consistent. And the difference between them is not that much in general either. So with the soft tires being as undurable as they are, there's a good chance Liam Parnell can hang on and win this race.
Yep, further back down the order, Alex O'Grady is fighting for 6th position right now with Kersey. He's trying to get him on the exit of the chicane, very close to the back of the Alfa Romeo car. So these guys still fighting for their points-paying positions. I think if Alex O'Grady does finish in at least the top 10, then he'll be very happy with how this race has gone for himself on his debut in this one. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see if he is able to close up to the back of Kersey. They're about to lap Jake Benham, who is confirmed an AI car at this point. There is no question about it, as Leveche has managed to get past Joe Hannon, who I think has had a bit of a moment through the final sector. He's got wing damage as well, and I think, unfortunately, well, if it's this late in the Grand Prix, I think he might be calling it a day here. Yeah, he's left the session, I do believe. And so, yeah, I think he's retired, done and dusted. Back at the front, though, is 2 seconds the gap. If Liam gets a penalty, Danny Moreno wins this race. Of course, 3 second time penalty is the minimum that you can get. So he is within that window that he does need. But I think even if he does get the win on penalties, he'll win it all on track.
Yeah, likewise, though, if Danny Moreno gets a penalty, there's a good chance Liam Parnell still wins this race. Parnell is currently sitting on just 1 warning. Moreno is sitting on 2, so Moreno has to be a lot more careful. Parnell can afford an extra warning as Louis Welch goes for the move on Fitzy around the outside for turn 11, and that is the move done on the much faster soft tires here. At least at this point, they might get to the point where they may fall off a little bit more. We'll see about that. But right now, Louis Welch able to make the move stick, has an advantage on the tires, and will try to pull off a little bit as well.
The most crucial thing that we have just seen at the moment, Danny Moreno, now within 1 second window. He will have the DRS on Liam Parnell when he makes the most of it and goes for the move. That remains to be seen. Only 5 laps on this set of soft tyres. They are getting on in age, but they still do have, I'd say, a little bit more pace than those mediums that have been on that Racing Point car for 13 laps. You can see Danny Moreno's turned it up again. He's only a tenth down on his previous best time, and this is going to be where Danny Moreno will try and go for it, opening up the DRS very, very soon. Liam Parnell defending to the inside line. It might all be in vain as Danny Moreno, he's not using any of his overtake. He doesn't want to go for it this time by because he doesn't want to give Liam Parnell the advantage in towards turn 11. He gets so close to the back of the Racing Point car, but he is oh so nearing his opportunity for the lead of the Grand Prix, up 14 positions in this race. Here comes Danny Moreno closing on the back of Liam Parnell. He's just not using any of his overtake, and that really does confirm he might want to go for it in the final lap of the Grand Prix, or at least as late as possible. He's hanging back for the time being. He could have easily went for that move.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that Moreno doesn't go for that move here. I think this is the wrong call from him strategically. He has to go for it as quickly as possible because by the end of the race, these tires are going to be exactly the same. They're going to be worn to about 70%, 65-70%, and they will be at pretty much the same pace, which is not going to be much, but there's not going to be an advantage either way, and he'll have to make the move, and it's going to be a lot more difficult. And Parnell right now is doing okay on his ERS. He's sitting at 35% right now. Moreno, however, is still sitting at almost 90.
Yeah, absolutely. He just has that advantage on Liam at the moment. He's getting very close through on the hill section of the track. He might go for it into the chicane. He looks to the outside line. He hangs back for the time being. Danny Moreno didn't want to take any major risks there. But now, coming, he's got the DRS. Through the hairpin he comes. He is so close to the back. He's just got to go for the move now. Surely he's using up his overtake. Here comes Danny Moreno down the straightaway. DRS has been enabled. Now pulling out the slipstream. The machine. Danny Moreno, the Spaniard, to the outside line of Liam Parnell down the straightaway. Job done for the Mercedes car into the braking zone. Now it's all about extending that advantage to the Racing Point car, but from all the way down the order, he's made up 15 positions in this Grand Prix. Danny Moreno, take a bow, my son.
Yeah, it was a matter of time. I'm still questioning why he took himself a whole lap longer than I expected. I think he had the opportunity on the previous lap, on lap 24, but I mean, he made it stick. And now he's just trying to pull a gap. I'm not sure if he will be able to pull a gap that's over a second, and he has to still be careful with the penalties. But as I say that, well, he is pretty much pulling a gap of over a second, never mind. Bit surprising to me that Liam Parnell's not able to really fight back. He's losing so much time still in the middle sector. It's remarkable. I think the one thing I have to say here, as it's a 1 minute 37.7 from Parnell. Very consistent. Moreno's last time, 1 minute 36.2. So 1.5 seconds still the difference between those tires. Very surprising how good of a condition his soft tires are still in with only 3 laps to go and 7 laps already in them. This is incredibly surprising to me. Danny Moreno not only getting the position and making the overtakes happen, but also taking incredibly good care of his tires.
Yeah, he's done really well to really take them as far as he has and still have that pace over Liam. 2 seconds is now the gap, but the battles are not over because for the lower end of the points paying positions, they are still fighting at the moment. It seems like Leveche in the Alfa Romeo car filling in for, I believe, Lefted tonight. He is now down the straightaway using up the last of his ERS, the extremities of the overtake. He could go for the send on Crew 6. Crew 6 defends the inside line. Here comes Leveche to the outside now of the McLaren car. They make a little bit of contact. He cuts over the chicane there, and now still coming off the exit of the corner. He's made that move stick, and he still has the DRS on the cars in front. Crew 6 still might try and fight this one back though, coming in towards turn 11. Is he going to go for the send? No, he'll hang back and that is allowing for Lecce to get ahead with a slightly fresher, only 1 lap in it, the slightly fresher tyres for Lecce. That made all the difference. Now he's got Alex O'Grady in front of him, 2 laps fresher on the tyres, so this could be an easier move for him if he does want to go for it in due time. But now, beginning lap 27, we have 2 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Danny Moreno's already pulled out a gap where he can get a 3-second time penalty, but I don't think he'll want to risk that one.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think at this point, with this gap, 3.5 seconds almost, and it will get there in due time. In fact, as I say that, it's at 3.6, 3.7. It's still climbing up. That is remarkable from Moreno. I mean, this is a true masterclass here from Moreno, as we have a Calvin retiring in the pit lane. So, yeah, that is another driver out. We are down to 12 runners now in this race. And I mean, look at the gap between the top 11. Less than 25 seconds. Less than 25 seconds between winning the race and not even getting a point.
Yeah, so it's pretty strong from the grid to have this level of pace, and especially in the top 10 around each other. They are very close from about Louis Welch all the way down to Crucix. They are still very close on circuit. Crucix actually fighting with Pablo Hogler there, and Vexit is going to take advantage of the vulnerable Williams car, who has lost out on a bit of time. He could still be going for the move. There's also moves being made further up ahead for Domenico Lecce, still fighting it out with his teammate in this one. So coming on to the third sector, he's going to maybe try and go for the outside line here. Comes the Italian driver in the Italian car. He's going to just hang back for the time being, but that was very close between those two there.
Yeah, it's difficult to make the overtake happen there. It's really, really tough. And Lecce just has to wait for one more opportunity. And looking at the penalties, though, I'm pretty sure we might end up with a double Mercedes podium, as Dario Yamulo has a 12-second time penalty, whereas Louis Welch only has 3. So if Welch is able to keep the gap under 9 seconds, right now it's 7.7. If he doesn't get another one, then Louis Welch might end up on the podium with his teammate Moreno.
And a 1-3 for Mercedes when they're 8th in the constructor standings. It really does make all the difference for them, but we do have to turn our attentions to this man, Danny Moreno, who has led from about lap 25 when he overtook Liam Parnell, who started this race on pole position. Liam Parnell's tyres are not going to be feeling too good at the moment. 17 laps on that set. He was committed to the one stop, and it does seem to have worked out. Lecce getting past Kersey for 6th position, but through the final sector for the final time, Danny Moreno in the Mercedes car, his esports team that he is a part of, is the shades of what we could potentially see in the esports series. He's not yet taken a win in the Pro Series, but in RL, it is going to be 4 different winners in 4 different Grand Prix. Through the final 2 corners comes the Spaniard, out now in towards the final braking zone for the final time, and coming onto the accelerator, the fireworks spray. Danny Moreno has won in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, what a fantastic drive. I mean, you don't see it every day that a driver starts in P16 way down the order and goes on to finish the race. A truly, truly remarkable race by the Matador.
Absolutely, more drivers finishing up the Grand Prix here, as Louis Welch did end up finishing on the podium indeed. So that is a very strong performance from the Mercedes outfit. Liam Parnell in the sandwich of those two. It'd be really great to see if we can get those guys in for a interview, as the rest of the drivers finishing up the order. Crucix missing out on points by just under 1/10 per second. That's going to be utter heartbreak for him there. But that is the end of this Grand Prix, and what a race we have seen. I'm just going to quickly put in the Twitter chat that the podium drivers can come in for an interview if they go into the waiting room, and we will hopefully get those guys. But Austin, I've got to ask, what are your thoughts on that Grand Prix?
I mean, a fantastic race. We don't often see good racing at Abu Dhabi, but this one certainly delivered here. We had a driver from 16th on the grid to win the race. We had drivers on 1 stop, drivers on 2 stop. So a nice mix of strategies here, which made for a fantastic race. And so ultimately, Yeah, I think a well-deserved victory here for Danny Moreno, but also our first double podium finisher in Liam Parnell in this season. The first driver to take 2 podiums this season in 4 races. No one else has done it. And with that, he will also take the lead in the championship.
Yep, his main rival is Joe Hannon, who didn't finish this Grand Prix, so that means no points going back for the Red Bull team at all today, which leads Liam Parnell leading into this championship. So hopefully, again, we can talk to those guys in due course, but we'll just run through the full-on results now. Danny Moreno winning here from 16th on the grid, and it was a brilliant time from him there. Liam Parnell in second position for the Racing Point outfit. Starting from pole, it wasn't enough to take the win, but it was still enough to net a podium in the end. These two did not pick up a single penalty. The only drivers on the grid who raced throughout the entirety of it that didn't take a penalty, as Louis Welch in third position, fourth for Dario Yamulo, fifth for Kersey, sixth for Vexit on his debut after serving a drive-through penalty. He'll be very happy with that one there, as Yari is in seventh, eighth for Domenico Lavecce. Alex O'Grady on his debut from 19th on the grid. He comes into 9th. It wasn't quite the Ruben Vallejo drive that he would have been hoping for, but it is certainly a strong position nonetheless. Pablo Hogalar rounding out the points in this race. Then your 2 finishers that didn't get points were Crucix and J. Cole, the DNFers in this Grand Prix. And there is quite a lot of them. Jake Benham, Sink Calvin, OMG It's Joe, that's Joe Hannon, Sink Bryn, that's Bryn Evans, Nicholas Mateo, what could have it been for him if he didn't have that drive-through penalty? Duza in 18th, 19th for Dylan Warren, and then Andreas Dormeyer retiring very early on in that one. But that brings us to an end of the Grand Prix, and I'm noticing 2 drivers in the waiting room. Hopefully we can get Louis Welch in as well, and then we can have all of our podium sitters in for an interview. I'll just put you onto the podium chatter screen, and there we go. Now I can just leave the lobby quickly and then focus on the interviewees. I think we'll bring in these guys in, and then we'll see if Louis Welch does eventually join us. So we'll bring in Liam and Danny as well. Hello, you two. Can you just hear me quickly?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, brilliant stuff. So we'll start. I think we'll start just by congratulating the pair of you for finishing on the podium. It was a really strong performance from you both, but I think we'll go to the second place driver at the moment, Liam Parnell, and I'd just like you to talk you through the race and how you felt from a driver's point of view.
Well, I knew I had really good pace, and it started off perfectly, pretty much. I broke the DRS to the guys behind, and yeah. Then the VSC came out, so yeah, that was good as well. I knew it would be hard to get the mediums to the end, so yeah, I went for I just saved my tires. Sadly, I got held in traffic pretty hard, like really, really hard. I had people going side by side in front of me in the last sector, so yeah. So I think in overall that was the maximum what was possible today. So yeah, I'm happy with this result.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes you our second time podium finisher. The only double podium finisher in this season. Of course, you picked up a podium in the first round of the season, but this also leads you to take the championship lead. So coming into the next Grand Prix, which I do believe is the Netherlands, how are you feeling about that track?
It's always good. It's always been good for me. So yeah, I think I improved a lot in the last couple of weeks. So I definitely want to win this championship now, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Really good stuff. I don't have any more questions for you personally, but Austin, if you have anything to ask Liam, then go ahead.
I think, like, looking at the race calendar, I think the next track is Australia, or did we have a change?
Yeah, Australia might be skipped due to the Pro exhibition, but there are more updates coming for that.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
yeah,
So the question I have, you're now the championship leader, Liam. Who do you think is your biggest rival for the second half of the season?
Oh, it's really, really hard to judge. Looking at the first half of the season, consistency was, brought you more. So yeah, it depends how much guys like Danny, Bowie, and Josh are racing. So yeah, at the moment, I would say it's probably Joe, because he's racing every race and getting good results. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I would actually like to apologise. We're not headed to Zandvoort next. I don't know where that one came from me. It's because I was looking at the PSGL standings, and I got the Dutch flag and the Abu Dhabi flag mixed up. Just don't worry about it. But yeah, I think from that one there, firstly, I'd just like to say well done, Liam, for that race, and I think we'll let you get away and celebrate that one. But we'll move on to the main man himself, the machine, Danny Moreno. How are you feeling after that one, Danny?
Well, I'm feeling really happy. Obviously, the strategy paid off and got the win.
Well, plain and simple there. Coming into this race, you did vow that you would get points, and you actually said in the Twitter chat that you did get points. You certainly did. You got the win in the end. So how was the confidence coming into this race, and did you think you'd have been in such a good position?
Well, coming into this race, obviously it's a hard track where you can get a penalty really easily. So obviously you have that always on your mind during the whole of the race. So I think this is a track where you can't push 100%, because if you push 100%, then I think you will get a penalty. So I was quite confident because I knew my pace. Well, I knew I was probably the fastest after practicing with Liam. And yeah, I knew Liam was going to do a different strategy to me. So I thought it was a good opportunity to see if my strategy would work, and it clearly did.
Yeah, well, that is completely fair enough, and of course you took the race in really dominant fashion there. But that is all from me on my question. So, Austin, once again, if you have anything to ask, go right ahead.
Yeah, I've got two questions. First one, you seem to slow down in qualifying. Was that the plan the whole time, that you just qualify way outside the top 10 because you wanted the alternate strategy because you thought it was so powerful?
Yeah, I knew the alternate strat was powerful. Obviously, it's a track where if you qualify on mediums, even though you start outside the top 10, if you try to do the quali on mediums and you start outside the top 10, then for the race, you get that set of mediums, so they are used. That's why I didn't quali on mediums. And my plan was to finish P11 the quali, but before starting my last lap, I saw the lap times, and a 33.1 was P11. But suddenly, when I finished my lap, I did a 33.3. That more or less would have been top 12, top 13. I saw that everyone improved. So I qualified P17, which wasn't the plan. The plan was P11. But obviously, as I didn't have any engineer to help me with the delta or telling me the times, it was a bit harder to judge.
Okay. And other question is, if I saw correctly, if I remember correctly, on the race director, it showed that you got your second warning around lap 7, lap 8. So you've done basically 20 laps hoping to not get another warning and trying to just keep it inside the track limits. Is Abu Dhabi the most difficult track for that, or do you think there's a more difficult track for that? And how difficult overall was it?
Well, it was really hard. I think this is the worst track, especially because there's some corners where there's a glitch. If you run wide, you get insta penalty or you get insta 2 warnings, and yeah, obviously you gotta watch out. Then I got the 2 warnings on the same corner on the chicane in the second sector, because you gotta completely eat it to gain time. So obviously it's a bit hard to judge, and especially behind traffic, it's even harder. So when I got my second warning, I knew that if I got a penalty, probably I was gonna lose the race, because I knew Liam was really fast around here. But still, even with 2 penalties, I would have won. So I think that's important information looking forward to other championships.
All right. Thank you very much. And once again, congratulations on your victory and your move way up in the standings. I mean, I can't do that much math to know where exactly you end up now, but certainly you've been overtaking a lot of drivers in the standings now. And you might, hey, with 4 races left, you might still challenge for the championship.
Yeah, obviously, I'm gonna try. It's gonna be hard, but yeah, I will try.
So that brings us to an end of a tumultuous Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at the Yas Marina circuit, and Danny Moreno taking his first points of the season in brilliant style, taking the win of this Grand Prix. The machine himself really living up to his name. But that is all from us today. Thank you everyone for watching this Grand Prix, and we will see you in the next one. Goodbye everyone.